So, talk to me about this van.
Well, as you can see right here, we've got the 100-watt solar panels on the hood. This is a kind of a new product in the last couple of years, and I definitely wanted to incorporate it. The rest is pretty obvious. It's four-wheel drive, 6-cylinder, 2022 Sprinter, 144 wheelbase, high roof. There's a Fiamma awning. Those LEDs are basically, when we're out in the forest and we're basically backing into a spot, I want to be able to have light 360 degrees around the van.
We took it to Asbury Park. We slept, we had our paddle boards. We took it to Asbury Park. We took it
And
to
this is the perfect state to have four-wheel driving. I mean, if you're stuck, if you're outside and it's snowing, you're going to be able to get around.
It's cozy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's go around the back of the van and just check it out.
So this was a feature. This was a lot of thought went actually into this ladder. It's using readily available materials out in the world, but I fabricated it so kind of have the curvature of the back of the van. And if anybody needs to mount stuff, spare tires, a rack for a bicycle, they can do that on this. And actually on the roof itself, you can't see, but there's a mahogany, what I call viewing platform. Fun because I worked with a local automotive store who got me started into mixing colors, and I thought it was going to be easy because I had an art background. They were happy to set.
Okay, here we go.
Yes, so I mean that's one of the things that's been really cool about working in my driveway is that there's people in the community that I would have.
And talk to us. Like the fire department stopped.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't there, which I was kind of mad because the fire department stopped with our truck right here. He said, and they all came out because they've seen us work on this van for like what? Or on this van
10 months. Yeah.
So they finally stopped and got a tour of the van.
Yes, I had all of a sudden there was a fire truck parked in front. It's like, everything okay? They're like, yo, we've been watching you build your van. We've been watching you build your van for months now. It's like, hey man, come in here, check it out. So I had like the whole department, they're just up the street. So they came out. She wasn't here, I'm sorry. Every woman's dreams to have the whole fire department come by for fun.
That's fun, and then you have the UPS people in the neighborhood.
I know people's dogs' names. I know their kids' names. I've watched them kind of grow up. It's for a neighborhood that there's not really a lot of people that are outside. That's been, I guess, a really positive side effect from building out in front of the house. The negative side effect is also the exposure. People know what you're doing. This was keyed. So this was keyed and it had to get, so,
I heard that.
But that's, I look at, okay, so it cost me however much to get it fixed. How much would it cost me to have a commercial space in Jersey City? So it was a bummer, but stuff happens. This came out washed this morning and the birds are pooping on it. So they like somehow they know when the van is totally clean and when it's about to be in front of the house because they'll come and poop all over it.
Yeah, so it's an isotherm. It's kind of fridge that you find on yachts. Usually it's filled with champagne, but not this one.
Okay, what are you opening up?
Yeah, so now we have a composting toilet.
Oh my God! Wow.
And
You were supposed to say the toilet. It's more fun.
the toilets, of course.
Toilets.
So these are fun. These are pocket stairs, so that when the bed is down, you can get in and out of the bed.
Ah, yeah.
It's pretty standard. It has 4 gallons of hot water heater here. So I actually don't know if it's on. It's still hot, cold water, including it's not currently on, which is good. Cold drinking water, the toaster oven. That's all the water heater. This is what's called a 5-gallon gray water tank.
Right.
They talk about the knobs you put and the detail of the of the cabinets.
Basically, once I got a tactile, it all started with this countertop. I made these countertops that you'll see inside of the house, and the way that this feels and the way that it looks, I've kind of incorporated that into the entire van.
And what kind of range is this?
So this is an induction dual.
Induction.
Yeah,
very,
induction.
very
Yep, exactly.
modern.
Yep.
And up here is storage?
Yep, storage. And what we kind of did differently is I have a tapered design, so the cabinet isn't coming down here, because honestly, when you're up against it and you're cooking, your
it's not
head's going to
hitting
be
your
right
head.
here. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And so,
this is an AC
and how tall are
unit.
you?
5'11".
You're 5'11",
Yeah,
so you could
5'11".
probably you could stand and be
I'm
almost...
very comfortable under here. You know, it's
Yeah.
like I'm very. In fact,
Yeah.
I'm like, that fits me. I'm 5'7", almost.
Yeah.
Okay.
um,
Right. And so what would you put back here if you didn't have motorcycles? Anything you want?
You know, that's the thing too. Is
Paddle
at
boards.
these paddle boards. You could put surfboards in here at this
Yeah.
price. You know, like, here's the thing: if you're not living in your van all year round, you're gonna come into a situation where it's like you need to pick up a dresser or something else. You know,
Right.
that's why there's. You know, that's why these vans are unique in that they have the most amount of internal
If
space that you
you have a
possibly
dog
can.
also, you know, then
It's like
that's-
any time that you're not sleeping in it, you could put anything you want. In fact, you could put anything you want up to here and still sleep in it. So, you know, the whole idea was this was to be like multiple use. And
Yeah.
you may not know what that is. You know,
Right.
you may not, if you're not living in it full time, one day, like I said, you know, you could pick up plywood here. You know, you could, you know, it's just having a van. I could put my equipment in here. You know, I could work out of here. So I could put a full-size motorcycle underneath there.
What is that on the back door there?
This is the outdoor on-demand hot water shower. So this opens up,
Yep.
and here we have all the water accessories. It hooks up here, as well as onto it. It uses a cylinder gas container.
I see. So
Okay.
you've got a handheld shower.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
So
basically
yep,
handheld.
yep. I mean, if the customer wanted to, we could mount up a shower. We can mount the shower there, or if they
I
want to
see.
hold it, you know, that's
And then
kind
up
of.
here you have spotlights of some kind.
Yeah, we have spotlights. We have 300 watts of solar, rooftop air conditioner, and some.
I'm sorry, you have solar panels on the roof?
Yeah, 300 watts, as well as 100 watts of solar panels
Yeah.
on the hood as well. So I don't know
Got
if
it.
you saw those when you came up.
Got it.
Did you want to mention this?
Oh well, yeah, you could flip it open. So that's where the 500 amp hours of power for all of the hot water heater, the air conditioner.
So
the
what kind
stove.
of batteries are those?
Those are lithium ion.
I see. And so
With
that's
3000
storing.
watt inverter. Yep. So,
So you got an inverter there, and that's storing what you get from the solar panels on the roof.
exactly. Yep. And that's charged from either a second alternator. Actually, we installed a second alternator. So the fastest way for this to charge is through that alternator. It also has a standard 30 amp, what's called shore power hookup that most RVs
Right.
have.
And then we made sure we made these vents
Oh, yeah.
here, you know,
This-
that are also a special design, this one and this right
Like this
here.
is where Soda Deco kind of comes in, you know, where it's like I needed a practical way in order to be able to get air to pass through and cool off.
Right. So you
Mhm.
add some design elements.
Exactly. Rather than just putting just holes anywhere, you know, I'm like, I found that if I took the same ply and if I could use different bits, that I got a really cool pattern.
Like
And
what kind of design also can be made here to maybe make something else after, like some lamps or you know some like.
oh yeah, that's right. She wants to make me to make some
To
lamps out of
add
this
to the
too.
company.
Got it.
Yeah, because this is, what I found is that going through our inventory and the amount of time that it takes, the money making proposition on these is pretty low. And I talked to a lot of builders, and these builders, there's a couple of ways to make money in the business. You either have a big warehouse with multiple people with multiple vehicles that
Mass
you're,
producing them.
or small,
Yeah.
and that's kind of where we are. It's like
So is this for you guys, or is this something somebody ordered?
This
or
is-
is this on spec?
This is basically spec. This will be our second one that's for sale. Third one.
Third one, yes.
Yeah, this is our third one.
It's
So-
on spec.
So yeah, it's basically listed right now. For
I mean,
sale.
Aaron, if you want to buy it, it's yours.
Yeah. All right. So are you going to tell me what you're asking?
It's listed at 168,687, and I came up with that number because the build cost was 130,000.
Yeah.
So it turns out to about $15 an hour. So
For your work, you mean?
yeah,
The amount of
so
work.
so it's so I looked at everything that went in. I mean, I also added some tools as well, and I was like, how much did it cost us to do business last year? It was $136,000, and I was like,
Yeah.
well, I need to make $15 an hour, and that turns out to be a markup of $168,000.
Got it. Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's these things, and it's crazy. People don't want big RVs anymore. You know, they want small, the Sprinter vans, or Dodge ProMasters.
Right. Do you
Yeah,
do those
or
as well?
Ford
Do you do the
Transit.
Fords, or
I
are
don't-
you a
I don't-
Mercedes guy?
You know what? And I don't, and it has nothing to do with brand loyalty. It has to do with, I know, and I have templates for this van.
Yeah.
Making templates for this van, including all the walls,
The
and
upholstery, everything.
it's like that's where, that's what takes a long time. You know,
Now, let
once
me
I-
ask you this.
Yeah, sure.
I assume, vans are going to be electric very soon.
Sure.
This is probably a diesel. Is this a
Yep.
diesel?
Yep.
Yeah. So have you thought about, what's going to happen with electrification?
Electric doesn't actually really change the build at all. For me, it'll be just following what the kind of the trends are and where people want to go with it. These 2022s are the last year that Mercedes is making this as an actual 4x4, and they're switching now to an all-wheel drive system, which is different. So some of the purists want to have a 4-wheel drive. This is the last year it's going to come in a 6-cylinder.
So
I don't
what's
really
it
know
going to be
what's gonna
coming?
happen.
I'm sorry.
So now it's a 4-cylinder all-wheel drive rather than a 6-cylinder 4-wheel drive. So I don't really know how that's going to change.
Yeah.
I think that if Mercedes has good reasons for doing that. It's funny you mentioned electric, because this is a big thing that I think has always been missing in electric vehicles is that I have 400 watts of solar power, available to me to charge these batteries.
Yeah.
Why are not vehicle manufacturers doing the same thing?
Right.
Is it too expensive to add a little bit of solar power on there? I mean, I figure it's free.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see if Mercedes picks up on this possibility, because they have so much roof space,
Right.
and they incorporate that, so that I don't have to build a rack, and they have a fully electric vehicle. That's awesome. I mean, the two would go hand in hand. So it's, they should be talking to people like us.
Yeah, maybe you should,
when it comes
maybe
to-
you should contact them.
Yeah, maybe I should
Contact
contact them like, hey, we're converting vans that include solar. Why are we not doing that to charge the electric batteries that are going to be used to run the motors? So,
Sophie, did you get involved in the design elements in the van?
Yeah, we talk about the design, so we actually got, we talked about the little shelf, because the other one didn't have that. We talked about the upholstery, the colors.
These we bought while we were in France.
We bought this in Marseille.
But
yeah.
I custom painted them to be the same color as the custom painted hubcaps on the outside. Like, I mixed the colors, I added the metal flakes. So,
And what about this plywood you used?
I mean,
It
this
looks, it looks pretty high end in its own way. It's
basically,
it's got a veneer on it.
it's not actually. So yes, this is a Formica veneer, which was kind of new to me on this project. I hadn't worked with it before, and I'm really satisfied with it because it's really durable.
Yeah, that was to bring a little bit,
And we want
wanted
color.
to keep it like modern, but also like colorful, and then a bit of a 70s kind of vibe. But
It also has kind of an IKEA vibe. I mean, I say that
True.
in a good way.
Yeah,
'cause-
no, like Scandinavian design
Yeah.
has always been,
Yeah.
something we're interested in. I mean,
Yeah.
when you go into our house, you're not going to see anything Scandinavian because it's a 160-year-old house. But we've always loved modern touch.
And this hydraulic system you have to raise and lower the bed,
Yep.
what kind of hydraulic is that?
So they're actually called linear actuators.
Uh-huh.
There's no actual fluid inside them.
Right.
There's a screw that goes up and down.
Interesting.
So I found a manufacturer that makes ones to the specs that I wanted to. And,
Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
it was actually not as confusing as I thought it was going to be. I have taken them apart to kind of see how they work, because the first van that I had, I had to actually change the stop height, and I took it apart to learn how it works, so I could change the stop height and put in limit switches and stuff like that.
Got it.
So a lot of stuff I've learned is just by taking things apart.
Now, I assume the van has AC, sort of the standard AC that came with it.
Yeah. The platform itself is amazing. I mean, it has a 360-degree backup, so you can see everything that you're about to run into.
What kind of mileage does this guy get on the?
Probably somewhere around 20 miles to the gallon, which is, I think,
on the highway.
I think that's why Mercedes is switching to a 4-cylinder. They want to try to up that a little bit more.
Sure.
I mean, but for a vehicle this size, that 20 miles to the gallon is with or without stuff in here. It seems to be pretty continuous.
Now, have you guys taken one of these out yourself and
Absolutely, yeah,
and lived with it and tested
Yes.
it yourself?
Yeah, we
Absolutely,
drove. We
yeah.
had one. We had 2 paddle boards here.
Yeah.
We drove from here to. I mean, we drove across the country.
yeah, drove across the country.
We
yeah.
drove to see one of our daughter. We went.
But
to
not in this
Florida.
one.
No,
this
no,
one
no,
is. We can put mileage.
Yeah,
in.
this one is
Right. This one's brand new.
Yeah,
But what'd you do with the other one? Did you sell that one?
Yeah,
you
sold
that
to
one?
a couple in DC.
So I'm sorry. You told me how many of these? This is your second one.
So this is actually this is the third. This is the
third
third
one?
build. Yeah, the first one is ironically it's back in San Francisco where it kind of came from.
Yeah.
We had a buyer that flew out here and is living in there. The second one is now in DC. So the third one, who knows?
What about keeping this thing warm at night?
It has a diesel heater actually. So what it does is it takes diesel from the from the tank, and it sips. It's called an S-bar heater. S-bar is it's a diesel cabin heater. S-bar I think is just one of the brands, but it will sucks a tiny amount of diesel into basically kind of a small jet engine.
Wow.
And once the jet engine is started with the glow plug, you sprays a little bit of diesel in there, and it keeps that going. And there's actually an exhaust and intake for that on the outside of the van.
Was that a Mercedes
No,
installed item or something you put in?
No, that's something I put in. Mercedes doesn't put in those in their own vehicles.
And is that what I see underneath? Is
Yep,
that underneath
that's
the seat
exactly,
there?
yeah, so that will keep
Right.
that's going to keep you toasty in here like 75 degrees and 0 degrees.
No
Yeah,
carbon.
it is
No
really
carbon
warm.
monoxide.
No, it's because the intake and the exhaust is outside of the van. But you actually reminded me because before this goes up, I have to put a carbon monoxide. This will come with a carbon monoxide
Sensor or
on it. Yes,
alarm.
that's a basic. That I'm glad you kind of reminded me. I'm like, there's one or two things.
You don't want that liability.
Yeah, there's one or two things in here that, like, I brought it back from the shop downtown because there's a couple of things that I wanted to get finished here.
Yeah.
I figured, well, let's have you here with the other van. You could see the house if you wanted to, the workshop.
Yeah, cool.
So this is basically the heart of of the building. We've pretty much squeezed in just about every tool you can in every square inch. I mean, every square inch of this place is kind of talked about. Where are we going to put stuff? I have a robot vacuum. There's filtration in here. Basic, tables. I mean, every tool that you can imagine that you need for fabrication.
What are you working on over here?
So this is more related to Soda Deco than this is a non-van related thing. I'm building
Okay.
a sound isolation box for a company.
Got it. So talk to me.
Yes.
Talk to me about Soda Deco. That's your brand.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of your names. I know.
Yeah.
I read that. So what is the mission of Soda Deco?
You want to answer that?
You answer the mission.
Yeah, it's funny. The mission of Soda Deco is basically a design-oriented. It's a design-oriented platform for, and what started out as interiors. Like you'll see, when you go upstairs, the sliding countertop that we have. You see how we finished the house. We started this so that we can give people a sense on design with our own homes, and then also create products through fabrication as well. So it was in its fledgling when I started working on the first van. So that's been kind of more of the emphasis, but this box is a perfect example of, you know, is people find that they like our sensibility and practicality, and this is going to be a sound isolation box for a really, really expensive small air compressor. So this is a perfect example of, you know, people see our designs and they see our practicality and they're like, we want to go with
you want
Soda
to show
Deco.
that side underneath, like the way it's cut.
Oh yeah, so
But the other part of the company is really also not is practicality and design. So this box, this is a design.
yeah. So this is going to, this whole purpose of this expensive box is to make an air compressor quiet.
Right,
So-
and you've sort of given a little design.
Yeah, I mean that's what
there.
what it is.
in
It's
to make it more.
I mean,
interesting.
I could, you know, hammer together a bunch of plywood,
Right.
you know, and put some sound deadening in it, and
Right.
that's it. But it's
Right.
like, you know, by actually incorporating the 80-20, this is aluminum. So as the unit lets off heat, the heat is able to pass through the walls of the aluminum,
Right.
and utilize what's called it's called a bridge.
I don't have the name for you.
Yeah, it's a I'll remember the name of it. Basically,
Yeah.
where heat is transferred through it and dissipated. Thermal bridge.
Thermal
Yeah, it's
bridge.
called a thermal bridge.
I've
So,
heard of that.
so that's why they're like, oh, we want these guys to make this box. We don't want to just make a box. We've seen what they've done with vans. They've seen what we've done with interiors. They're like, let's have them do this.
So this
So
is
this is
what
the
we're
prototype.
trying to do, like
Yeah.
different, maybe like, you know, from the house and the van to show from like house renovation. So people, this is what you can do with an old house in Jersey City. Keep some of the part of it,
So, yeah, and we'll show you that.
and then
This-
we'll show you that upstairs.
All right, let's
And
go upstairs then.
Sure. And this workshop is also, it actually also started as kind of like, you could think of is every, you know, let's say you have a ship, right? Every ship is going to have a room that's dedicated to like tools,
Yeah.
so that you can take care of the ship. That's kind of
Right.
how this workshop started.
Right,
This
right.
I love this. It's our little metal zone, and we have friends who are luthiers. And do you know what a luthier?
I do.
Yeah.
I play guitar.
Yeah, so they're luthiers, and they came into the shop to start building their own guitar, and
Yeah.
they've done 1.5 guitars, and they made this specifically for me
Nice.
after I told them
Are
that
they,
we have a metal
are they
zone.
metal players? Is that what they do?
He's that's a really cool
Axel
story.
is-
Axel
yeah.
he's an 8-year-old
He's
kid.
8 years old.
Yeah,
He's
he and his
amazing.
father built
A guitar?
Built a guitar.
Nice.
Yeah.
He
Nice.
plays in Central Parks and
Yeah,
with
so-
his partner.
It's been awesome having him
It's
around.
really
Cool.